Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of my show, William Wallace for America. I have a guest on today that is going to talk about a lot about faith, but it's going to be an interesting twist because I think that you're going to find how his mission and his organization is not only trying to bring people back to faith, but he's going to tie it into America. He's got statistics. He's got a whole bunch of data along with some fancy group that he just informed me of. I say that jokingly because I know he's just laughing about it in the background because he was surprised that I didn't know about it. I'm surprised I didn't know about it, but it's going to be a deep dive into how he is helping younger people find faith as a way of not only healing, but to preserve our country. Gary T., thank you so much for being on there. I appreciate it with you today.
Man, it's such an honor. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, you've got let's start with your organization,
Sure.
Prayer at the Heart. Not
right.
Prayer of the Heart, but Prayer at the Heart. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so giving you a little bit of history and kind of some understanding behind the name, Prayer at the Heart, is actually established back in 2021. And our leader, his name is Dr. Doug Small, and I'm honored to serve with him on this team. But back in 2021, he had it in his heart to have a prayer meeting at the very center of the nation. That is a little town called Lebanon, Kansas. So we organized and we promoted and we did all the things necessary to make it happen. And about 3,000 people showed up in this little small town that barely exists in Lebanon, Kansas, to pray to God on behalf of America, that he would come and he would change hearts and that he would heal this land. So that's when we started, again, back in 2021. And since then, Prayer at the Heart has grown to be what it is today. And that is a movement on a mission to engage all generations in prayer for America.
So I want to tie in faith to
Sure.
fiscal responsibility,
Okay.
to politics, to the bureaucratic state, to our Constitution. Our country is in trouble in all of those areas. I mean, we are in I think landslide is coming down on us. I think the bureaucratic state has circumvented our constitutional rights, which I believe were endowed by our Creator. So I don't ever deny that our Creator has everything to do with our constitutional rights, because they were a reflection of our divine rights given to us by God. Politics is in shambles, but this minister with this organization, when he kicked it off, he just said, hey, we're going to go pray for the nation, center of the country.
That's right.
But how are you all connecting that? Are you all just praying for the country and say, hey, you know what? We're not getting involved in anything else. We're just praying for the country. What is your mission, or what do you think you're going to accomplish with that with the prayers that you are bringing people together on?
Sure. So I think it's twofold. First of all, we're praying to an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-incredible God that has the capacity well beyond myself or anybody else combined to make things happen here on earth. So we're going to him like he instructed Solomon back in 2 Chronicles chapter 7. He said, if my people, right? One nation under God. So America is one nation under God. So if my people, this is God speaking, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins and I will heal their land. So that's phase one. That's what we are wanting people to do. Go to God on behalf of this nation. And then secondly, we believe that prayer, when it centers on God, transforms the individual. So what we are dealing with in current culture, and you're talking about fiscal responsibility, and you're talking about the nature of politics and how everything is just kind of in shambles, and there's hardly anything that is sure and strong to stand on, or anyone sure or strong to believe in. what we believe in prayer is that God transforms us to be more like him. And in doing so, we get to represent God to a lost and a dying world, or in our context, to a nation that needs him. So it changes the way that we operate. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I'm going to
Yeah.
talk politics into it. I'm going to throw you some curveballs.
Sure.
You ready?
Let's go.
Because I hear people that I in particular associate Christian values and conservative values as being very parallel and very similar. And while many people who vote Democrat are are Christians and also and have conservative values, they don't acknowledge our conservative values because they think conservative values are a right-wing thing, not a Democrat thing. Laying that groundwork, there are a lot of people who are very liberal-minded, and I'm just gonna get political for just a second,
Sure.
who feel that to be on the right side of spirituality, or to be on God's right side, so to speak, or to coincidentally the right and the right. But I have a let me just say it like this: I have liberal friends and see a lot of liberal people that believe that their political values, ideologies, transgender, LGBTQ, government is here to provide for you. They believe that all of those ideologies are from God, that those ideologies are God's love.
I see.
While many people on the left think that people on the right, like you and I, that talk about faith and family and Christianity, without those things, that we are not doing it in a godly like way.
Mm-hmm.
Does your organization, do you all address that? Do you all see that?
Oh, we do. And this is something that I learned again from our leader, Dr. Doug Small, an incredible man of God. If you went down the street of New York, okay, and you interviewed people and you said, in one word, how would you describe God? What do you think is the most often response? Just off the top of your head.
Love.
Love. That's exactly right. God is love. God is love. You're going to hear that more often than not. It's going to be the majority of the responses. But although God is love, that does not take away from the fact that God is holy. And even more so, you can look at scripture in Isaiah, you can see it in Revelation and other parts of the Bible, that angels are surrounding the throne. They are looking at God day in, day out, night in, night out, okay? And they are circling around the throne. And they are not expressing to God, love, 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 love. They are saying, holy, 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 right? So this should be our response as believers, okay? So when we go to God in prayer and we're going to God, okay, God, what do you say about this political idea? God, what do you say about this thing? God, what do you say about this perspective? It should be from not only love, but what does God say about holiness, about righteousness? What is the word? What does scripture say about the way that we should conduct ourselves in relationships with other people? What does the word say about killing? What does the word say about, and you can, kind of finish the sentence there. So what I would want viewers and even the friends that you're talking about that maybe have more liberal perspectives to understand is that, yes, God is absolutely love, but God is also holy, and he has standards that he expresses in the word that we have to be responsible to as Christians. And taking that a step further, this nation was founded on those principles. Without a doubt, a spiritual awakening, a spiritual revival was the impetus in founding the United States of America. And prayer at the heart is believing that another spiritual awakening is going to bring us back to the heart. That is relationship with God.
I love it. So who started? Let's talk about your organization. What's the mission right now to
Yeah,
accomplish these things to bring people back to holy? Because I like that, because that, and maybe we'll have time to address it more in this interview, on how do we convince people on the left or with those ideologies that are not aligned with being holy, and say, hey, look, guys, I know that y'all think that your way is the way to love, to heal our nation, but it's not holy. We'll go back to that in a minute.
okay,
Let's talk about the mission of prayer at the heart.
sure. So right now, and I'm sorry, I talk with my hands, so I think my camera's like picking up on my hands and trying to
Yeah.
focus on that rather than my face. So I'm sorry about the focus issues that I'm dealing with. So I'll try to keep my hands nice and still, see if I can do it. It'll be a good test. But to answer your question, yeah, Prayer at the Heart right now is doing the Million Souls campaign. And what that is we are wanting to provoke and encourage and engage 1 million people. So let's think about that. That's a lot of people, 1 million people praying for 1 million souls to be saved. And when that takes place, imagine how much transformation that could do for maybe even this entire nation, and what that could do perhaps for the rest of the world, as 1 million souls are being transformed from darkness and hopelessness to light and a future in God. So that's the mission that we're on right now, to get 1 million people praying for 1 million souls to be saved.
That sounds pretty easy. Just pray.
That's it.
You don't have to go out and do anything. You don't have to go march, in the heat or in the cold. You don't have
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
not ask you to go show up at Lebanon, Kansas,
right,
and
right.
pray and get all, and whatever. Where you're just saying, look, just like wherever you are, pray.
That's
It's pretty
right. It's a
simple.
simple call to action. What was
It's
the
a very
question?
simple call to action.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So now where are you all taking it from there? What are you all working on to bring more people together on being holy and not instead of political, or being holy as a way to solve our financial crisis, or being faithful as a way to bringing people together
Mhm.
on faith and being holy instead of being divided on ideologies?
Yeah. So God's mission, and we see this through the life of Jesus, God's mission is to save the lost. He came to seek and save that which is lost. And he's talking about lost people. And he tells his disciples, open your eyes. The fields are ripe for harvest. So Prayer at the Heart believes in and through prayer that personal transformation takes place. And we see that not only in the life of the believer as we pray for the lost, but also for the lost as they are coming into the kingdom of God, right? So when that takes place, people start acting differently. You start believing that there is a God and you want a relationship with him, and that transforms you. Again, with my hands, so sorry.
Yeah, I know.
That transforms you to think not from a perspective of hopelessness, and not from a perspective of, oh, I've got to get out and steal and kill and destroy, and I've got to do all these things to get what's mine in this world. No, it transforms the heart and says, I can actually be a respectable individual. I can actually contribute to society. I can actually love my family. I can actually take care of my kids. It's not through myself, it's through a relationship with Christ that all these things can take place, because it transforms the worldly passions, the worldly desires within us to be more like God. And that's what we want to see through this Million Souls campaign. New people coming to know Jesus and their lives transforming. Maybe they're drug addicts. Maybe they're wife beaters. Maybe they're people that believe in things that aren't positive for society, but God transforms them, and it increases their contribution. It increases their love. It increases their interest in caring for their family. It increases their interest in not beating their wife. A silly example maybe, and I don't want to take away from that, but nevertheless gets the point across that God transforms us to be more like him. And that is transformational of the culture of America.
Do you find that, and from what I'm seeing, that, I think our country is going through not only a spiritual reawakening, but a
Okay.
health reawakening. Our country is really having its eyes opened in a lot of ways. A lot of people are realizing, hey, maybe our medical system has not been, working its best for us. Maybe
Mhm.
our food system is not as great as it used to be. Maybe our elections weren't as good as they used to be. Maybe our faith wasn't as good. There's a revival in our country in so many ways, not just in faith,
Yeah.
but in family. More people are starting to go, more people think about homeschooling their kids. What generation are you seeing that's maybe starting this revival, or maybe what generation is this? Are these revivals being started from? Do you see anything with this?
I do. And thanks for the question. That's a great question. So, in my responsibilities with Prayer at the Heart, I've done deep dives into Gen Z, what they believe, where they're at in life, what their perspectives in life are. And you see this especially in Gen Z currently. And I want to say this: Gen Z can provide the energy, right? Because they're young. They're 14 to 29 years old. That's about the age bracket of Generation Z. And they've got so much energy and they've got so much passion. Maybe they don't have the spiritual depth. Maybe they don't have the maturity, but this is where generations can come together in partnership with one another to change culture, right? So we're seeing this in Gen Z. In fact, a recent poll from Barna Group, like I was talking about before we started recording, the Barna Group polled Generation Z, and it revealed that 52% of teenagers here in America are very motivated to learn more about Jesus. 64% of Gen Zers prayed within the last week. So, like you're talking about this spiritual revival or this spiritual awakening, I believe that is happening even now. And if not, we're certainly on the cusp of it. I mentioned before, this nation was established on the heels of a spiritual awakening. And here at the 250th anniversary of this nation, I believe we are on the very heels of another one.
What do you think? What do you think took? You said Gen Z. Is it Gen Z is the one who's spurring this? This movement, right?
Yeah, they're turning back to the faith.
What do you think? What generation, or what do you think? Which generation, and what do you think caused that generation to pivot or move away from faith,
Yeah.
or not have their eyes on the prizes, or the prize rather, that makes our country, um I guess, stand on a foundation of faith that solidifies our rights as humans?
Yeah, so I'm not sure I can pin it on one single generation. Obviously, culture certainly affects the way that we see the world and the way that uh, every individual has their own perspective of America and of politics and of all these things that go into building our culture, even when it comes to, celebrities and politicians. But nevertheless, I'm not sure that I can pin it on one singular generation, but I do know that we within the Gen Z population are returning to faith, which is a great sign. Over the past 100 years, it seems as if we've fallen away from that, comparatively speaking, to the last 250 years of America as a nation. So Gen Z is returning to the faith, and they are providing the energy, and I believe they're providing influence for generations above them to do the same thing. They're recognizing, man, this world doesn't have a whole lot to offer me. Cultures try to shove X, Y, and Z down my throat, and it's just not working. And I don't want to live in this microwave society where I press a few buttons and 30 seconds later I have my gratification. That's just not going to last. So I'm looking for something more substantial, more stable, more foundational that I can really dig into and stand on for the rest of my life. And again, a lot of them are turning to the faith, and for that I'm thankful.
I love this. I love what your some of the information that you have to look at in a unique way. And that's what I love about what you're saying, that you're not just saying this is bad, that's bad. You're saying this has been something that has been evolving over time. And now it's coming to a head, and more people are like, wait a minute, how do I turn this around? And you're saying that more people are using faith to try to turn it around.
Yes, sir. And Rome wasn't built in a day, so our culture didn't end up this way just overnight. It's been a culmination of many things over many years and many influences. But again, just repeating myself on purpose, Gen Z is turning to faith, and I believe they're influencing other generations to do so because of what they've experienced at even a very young age. This world isn't satisfying. Their favorite singing group or artist isn't satisfying. Their favorite celebrity isn't satisfying. Their favorite app on their phone isn't satisfying. And you can keep on going on a list of things that they come in contact with every day that just isn't quite cutting the mustard, so to speak.
Not as good as the 80s when I grew up.
What was that?
It's not as good as the 80s when I grew up. We had better music, we danced, we sang, we went on dates, we lived life. Now young people don't even date anymore. Less younger people are dating now. Do you think that's kind of tied into this, as you put it, microwave society?
Yeah, I do think so. And again,
on that.
What was that?
Do you have any statistics on that?
Not necessarily about the whole dating situation. I have heard that Gen Z men, and even millennials, by the way, I'll throw them in there, are marrying later in life compared to generations before them. And why that is, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure there's a whole lot of understanding of why that is the case. Maybe even I could hear your thoughts on that. But nevertheless, if there are listeners of yours that are dealing with that sort of thing and trying to figure out why in the world generations act the way they do, I would encourage them, one, to connect with somebody of that generation, and then two, go to God about it. God, my son, okay, maybe I'm a 60-year-old man or a 50-year-old man, and I've got a 25-year-old son, and he's unmarried. I'm going to go to God about my son. God, I really want my son to have a wife, a good relationship, and he wants to have a wife. God, would you do something about this? I think that's where we can go and should go in relationship with God. He cares about our lives, and he cares about those that we care about. So why not talk to him about it?
Are you optimistic about the future of America?
That's a good question. You see that I hesitated. I'm
gonna interject for a second while you think about that, and I'm gonna tell you why. We're turning, and that just, it's interesting because, and I stammered a little bit, and I apologize to the listeners for that. Which, by the way, I like people to know that Patriot Mobile sponsors this show, and Patriot Mobile puts faith in Christianity and our First Amendment rights, as a priority in their business, and they are a very faithful company. So, supporting Patriot Mobile by switching your cell phone service to them supports a company that puts faith and family first. PatriotMobile.com/WWFA. So, but I'm looking at our country's gone through some really hard times.
Yeah.
And that's what I brought up first. Fiscal, the bureaucratic state growing, I mean, like, people are just more depressed. Our society is less productive. People have lost work ethic. But I am optimistic that I'm seeing a revival of a lot of things. I mean, people are realizing, hey, AI is going to take your job. College isn't what it was supposed to be. I'm going to learn how, a skill with my hands. I think more and more people are realizing that how powerful, not strong, how powerful the family unit is. They're finding out I think we're in a revival. And I said this earlier, but I think we're under attack, and we're under attack not just politically from one side or the other. I think in general, our society has been under attack, and it's to take a lot of digging to get out of there. Some people are very pessimistic about it. They think we're going in the wrong direction. Some are optimistic. I'm always long on America. But I do think we go through some harder times in our country, whether it's fiscal, whether it's societal.
Sure.
I think we are headed for some very difficult times, but I think we come out of it in the end. But I think there's some things that have to happen in there. You, coincidentally, I'm just, like I said, so I brought you on today, kind of are saying, hey, we've got an answer here. Prayer at the heart, million people praying for a million people, not to promote what you said, but there's still a lot of work to do. So are you optimistic?
Yes. And thank you for giving me time to think about it, because I believe I am. But even more so, I'm optimistic that the kingdom of God is going to be established continually here in America. Blessed is the nation whose God is Lord. You can try and put your favorite politician as God, or your favorite celebrity, or anything else, even yourself as God. But for America, if we maintain our determination as a country to make sure that the one true God is the one that we're serving, then the sky is the limit for this nation, and the hope for this nation remains.
Well, I'm gonna be an advocate. I noticed how I changed this little saying. Sometimes I have to be an advocate for the other people, for the other side. Okay.
Okay.
We have, I think Christianity in America is under attack. Several directions.
Sure.
Immigration. There's and people could say that we have the First Amendment right in our country to practice the faith that you believe in, but there are there's a huge immigration populations that do not believe in Christianity. And your quote just now, when you said, God is gonna, can save our kingdom, can save our country if we turn to him, but we have our own struggles here in America, not just politically, not just all the other societal, but also we have a fight for Christianity that's coming this way in America. Have you thought about that?
Yes, I have, and I think prayer at the heart is responding to it. So we are praying again for 1 million souls to be saved, and we're inviting your listeners to join us in doing so by being 1 in a million, praying for 1 million to be saved. So maybe you look at other religions and you say, man, that's not quite what we want here in America. We want the people, but maybe not the perspectives, right? Or maybe not the faith basis. So we're looking for a transformation in their lives to come and know the loving kindness and grace of Jesus. They're just lost. They're lost in darkness, but there is hope for them. And we have the opportunity as believers to pray to God on their behalf that they would come to know Jesus, transforming again their lives.
That's not a big lift for God, but it's going to be a big lift for Americans in the meantime.
Yeah.
See,
but that's why it says if my people who are called by my name, it's up to us to make sure that we are doing that so the then can happen.
We're doing our part so he can do his part.
That's exactly right.
All right. Okay. All right. I like that. Garrett, I said Gary T because I know in the beginning, but I know your name is Garrett.
All the time. It's all good.
Well, because it's just a cool way to say, hey, I'm Gary T, but you're Garrett. So, but either way, Garrett, I want one last question. I'll let you wrap up. Do you think that we're losing freedom in America? And if so, where do you think we're losing freedom in America?
I don't believe that we are. I believe that the Constitution speaks for itself as far as politics goes. But any freedom that you could experience here on earth pales in comparison to the freedom that you experience when you engage in relationship with Jesus. So, Paul, Peter, other disciples in the Bible, other apostles in the faith, years gone by, they might have been in chains. They weren't experiencing freedom. But in their hearts, they knew they were free because of their relationship with Jesus. So regardless of what society is doing to us, regardless of the persecution that we may be feeling, and maybe it's ramping up, and maybe one day I'll find myself in chains for my faith. Nevertheless, I know that I am free because I have a relationship with Christ.
I love it. Garrett, that's a great way to say it. Any final words before we close out the show?
Yes, sir. Just want to encourage your listeners, your viewers, once again, to go to prayerattheheart.org and join us on this Million Souls campaign. There's a little sign up sheet right there on the homepage. You can let us know that you are committing to being 1 in a million, praying for 1 million souls to be saved.
Garrett, thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir. Hang in there 1 second while I ask everybody to please share the show. Share this interview with somebody that you think might want to use faith as a way to turn our country around, help do their part to save not only souls, but save our country. And yes, I agree 100% that this is and whether you think of it as the final solution, faith being the final solution to solve all the problems, or just another arrow in our quiver in the battle for freedom in America, share this interview with somebody that you think could use another arrow in their quiver, in their good works to help do everything they can to help protect America. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the show soon.